Well, there are two words that I will talk to you about today. The first one is suffering, and second one is fulfillment, and the journey between these two. 2 billion people in the world today are feeling lonely, and it's like one fourth of the entire world's population. And if you look at all this huge number, what do you see? You see broken relationships, you see marriages that are troubled, you see unfulfilled lives, a lot of that. As part of my work as a social entrepreneur, I am leading a battle to end loneliness globally. And I get to speak with young people like yourself. I speak with young adults at universities, executives, and everybody from all walks of life. And what I understand from this experience is in the coming 5 years, loneliness is going to be the world's most pressing issue unofficially. And I'm using the word unofficially because it's a silent epidemic. It has already creeped up in our lives. It's an epidemic in the US already. The CDC has declared it, but we're seeing it in our everyday lives in form of depressions, in form of anxieties, in form of so much more. So what do we do about it? Well, 13 years ago, I had a decent life. I had all the money. I had more money than ideas to spend it on. I had a good, stable career, good, healthy body, mind, healthy relationships. I couldn't complain. Fast forward 3 years, I'm sitting in the monastery based in the campus of Dalai Lama's home. No bag, no contacts, no phone, no money, not even my family knows where I am. Not just that, I had lost the business I had made, I had all the money, but what I also have is a huge debt. What I also have is arthritis within 3 years' time. What I also have is not a single soul to speak with. But I was not that lonely. There was something, a very faithful companion that always seemed to be with me. And that companion was suffering. It never seemed to leave me. And suffering doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative. It's not. We're all suffering to our maturity. A tree is also suffering to be mature. It's a natural aging process. But the kind of suffering I'm talking about speaks through your body, like it did for me. With the arthritis I had, I could not sleep for more than 2 hours a night, so I had to wake up every night just after 2 hours of sleep and move because the whole body would spasm. So what did I do about this? So I'm sitting in the monastery, ready to renounce the world, left all my possessions, and I realized the first week in the monastery, during this evening prayer, I'm sitting with a lady from Orlando. And so we got into conversation, and she asked me, what are you doing here? And I told her my story. And I asked her, what are you doing here? And she said, well, I lost my family in a car accident, and lost my child, lost my husband, and I can't figure out whether to mourn my lost child or husband or to suffer this survivor's guilt. That why was I the only one who was survived in that car accident? And it hit me hard, naturally, because before that conversation, I was only asking stupid questions like, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why did I make that decision? All of that. But then, over the next 7 days, I ran out of all the stupid questions. Why me? This, that. And what I find is the three most important gifts that I always had, but I had not nurtured those gifts. The first gift I found was compassion. Compassion for myself, because I've been beating myself up so bad, being unkind to myself, not sleeping, not eating, leaving my family behind, all of that. And it's natural because as we are hit by any kind of setback, a failure, or suffering, if you want to call that, we are overwhelmed. We don't know what to do. We don't know the decisions to make. We can't think straight. So the first thing I did was I nurtured some compassion. And remember, we all have the capacity to be compassionate, to be lovable, to have the hate, to have the anger, all of it. The second gift I realized was curiosity. Now, before this incident, I was asking all the stupid questions. But after 7 days or so, I reached to the bottom of my question bank. And I found the three most important questions that I was meant to discover. But more on the questions later. The third gift I realized was the gift of courage. The courage to forgive myself, the courage to make a change, and the courage to move out of this zone. And this courage was fueled by compassion because I had been so unkind to myself. My life was more like my hair, all messed up. And once I figured these questions, I sat there, became a monk. I hadn't ordained yet, but I'm sitting there and trying to think, okay, so I've got the tools, but what next? And then curiosity takes over. So I'm sitting in the misty mountains, and while in the monastery I was practicing, I was also teaching school kids. I was traveling and teaching kids for free, all the life stuff, all the stupid mistakes I had made. And I realized I'm making an impact. I realized I could see the reflection of my gift through other people, their actions, how they thought, how they reacted. So this path towards fulfillment led me to discover who I am. The third thing I discovered was courage. So together, if you put curiosity, compassion, and courage, I realized these are the tools I need to do something much more substantial. So I sat there again, and I'm thinking, I'm talking to myself, and I said, wow, what next? I have figured out, fine, the pain and all of that. And then it kind of dawns upon me, I've never spoken to myself. So the first milestone to this path to fulfillment started with the first question, that is, who am I? And I had never asked that question to myself. I thought I am what I am supposed to be. I thought who I am is what the world demands of me, the influence of the world. And so I digged a little deeper, and I figured I'm a teacher. I figured I had a gift to teach, to be a guide in other people's life. And the second question, the second milestone on this path was, where am I? It was about taking a look at your life, your relationships, the people you are surrounded by, your profession you are in, what you're studying, all of that. And the third milestone in this journey, I realized, is where am I supposed to be? Where do I belong? Do I belong in the monastery? Do I belong in the world? Inside those boardrooms? Where? So once I figured those three questions out, I met with even more difficult question. What do I do now? Because life was easy in the monastery. You don't have to cook. You don't have to do stuff. Just eat, you practice, people donate money. And I thought, it's going to be selfish if I just continue living this comfortable life. All those sleepless nights, all that pain, all that physical, emotional, mental suffering, just for this comfortable life, doesn't make sense. So I left the monastery. I said, there is a gift that I have. There's something that I have been given that is meant to be shared with people, that is meant to make a difference in other people's lives. So the moment I came out, the moment I left the monastery, the first thing I did was I traveled the country and other countries, Singapore, US, and I talked to people at the airports, cafes, schools, kids. And what I learned was everybody was holding something back. Everybody has a story that they're desperately looking for someone to hear it. But there is judgment, there is fear, there is anxiety, there is so much. And I figured, wow, you know, all these people, 13-year-old willing to be a monk, 14-year-old asking questions about life, all of that. So I thought, well, this is beautiful that I see I'm not only one, but I also see that the gift I have has a space to be utilized, has so much to do. So I started an organization, and today that journey from suffering has found its path to fulfillment, which I'm seeing through other people's lives. So as part of my work, what we are doing is we're establishing hyperlocal communities across the world where people meet off the social media, people meet in real time, people eat together, people have fun, they build meaningful relationships and celebrate life. So what does that tell you, each one of you? So every time you come across a failure, a setback, or a dark phase of your life, call upon these three magical superpowers. Compassion is the first one. It's like a fire extinguisher. Curiosity, why it happened, because suffering that is coming from beyond your control always has a meaning. It always has. Find out what that is. And courage to take an action, to change what is supposed to be changed, to make a difference in your life, and to make a difference in other people's lives. So when we did that, I met over 30,000 students, worked with the UN, and so many more organizations today. What I'm seeing is people coming forward. We started something called Hopeline. It was during the COVID, and we heard stories that truly moved us. 30 days, 5,000 people called and said, I didn't know where I was going. If COVID didn't happen, I would have been lost. People called, people shared their stories, and most importantly, people made that decision to move out. So this talk is not about preaching some ideas. I would encourage each one of you, regardless of your age, profession, your gender, to remember this talk as a reminder that every time there is a setback, every time there is a dark phase in your life, think of this talk. Think of the three questions. Think of who you are, and where you belong. And I hope you find your own teacher within without having to go through intense emotional, mental, or physical suffering. So I hope you be your own light, and I'll see you in the path to fulfillment. Thank you.